Hello chess fans and welcome to Chess5. And today I'm going to show you one of the epic game played by a Indian youngster, and this game is from the Gold Money Asian Rapid Prelims 2021, and the game is between Dubov Daniil, one and only Dubov Daniil, who plays very fantastic attacking chess, and versus Arjun Erigaisi, who is also Grandmaster from India, and he's currently 17 years old, and he is also a powerful Grandmaster, and he's having 2500 plus FIDE rating. So obviously this game is going to be very interesting, and the game is from the Gold Money Asian Rapid Prelims 2021, and this is the round number 2, and this game is going to be very epic. You all are going to love this game. So Dubov Daniil with the white pieces and Arjun Erigaisi with the black pieces. So let's see what happened in the game. So Dubov Daniil with the white pieces started with 1c4, and Arjun Erigaisi, 17 years boy, replied with c5. Here we have g3, knight to c6, bishop g2, and now we are in the English opening. Here we have g6, knight to c3, bishop to g7. Here comes knight to f3, e6, castle, knight to e7. Everything is well known. This all theory comes in the English opening. So here comes a3 by Dubov Daniil. Here comes d5 by Arjun Erigaisi, and here Dubov Daniil played an unusual move, which is b4. After the game, Arjun said that he knew this is the theory, because basically white gave up one pawn sacrifice and he gets a very active position. But okay, so here Arjun captured the pawn on b4. Here we have a b4, and here we have knight b4. And black is the pawn up, but in the exchange of a pawn up, white have a very active position. But according to Arjun, it's a theory and it's pretty normal for both the position. So after knight into b4, here white played bishop to a3, developing the piece and also attacking the knight on b4. So knight came back to c6. Here we have d4, gaining more space in the center. Here black simply castled. Here we have c into d5, e into d5. Here comes e3 by Dubov Daniil. Now his pawn structure is very nice and his all pieces is perfectly developed. So here comes a6 by Arjun Erigaisi, and the idea of playing a6 here, he wants to play b5 followed by bishop b7, and after playing this, his pawn structure would be very nice on the queen side, and as he's having two pawns on the queen side, so both the pawns are passed pawns, so he's having a very nice advantage in the end game if the game goes in the end game. So after a6, here Dubov Daniil played rook to c1, developing his piece. So here comes rook to e8 by Arjun Erigaisi, because the knight was pinned. So he moved the rook, and now he's free to move the knight from the e7 square. Here we have queen to b3, putting more pressure on the d5 pawn, saying okay, white is saying black to that, okay, I'm not going to allow you to move the knight from the e7 square, because currently knight and the queen is protecting the pawn on d5. So whenever the knight will move from the e7 square, white is going to capture the d5 pawn. So after queen b3, Arjun played knight to a5, a very nice move by Arjun. The idea is he wants to put the knight on c4, and the knight would be very powerful, and also the knight on c4 will also attack the bishop on a3. So after knight to a4, here the queen is attacked, so Dubov played queen to a2. Here we have knight to c4 by Arjun, and here comes bishop into e7, grabbing the knight. Here we have rook into e7, and now comes knight to g5, a very nice move by Dubov Daniil. The idea of playing knight to g5 here, now the bishop and the knight is attacking the pawn on d5. So in this position, Arjun simply played bishop e6, protecting the d5 pawn. So after bishop e6, here Dubov played e4, and Arjun said after the game that he missed e4, but nothing bad is happening. But if you will lose concentration, then definitely many things is happening. First of all, you cannot grab the pawn on e4, because now it's losing for black, because now comes a very powerful move. Here white will capture the bishop on e6. Here after rook into e6, white will simply grab the knight on c4, and white is a piece plus, and it's losing for black. So if after e4, if black tries to do something like capturing up the pawn on d4, still it's losing for black, because now comes a very powerful move into d5, capturing up the pawn, and black cannot capture the pawn because knight and the bishop is protecting it. And second threat here is, white is preparing to capture the knight on c4. So if black somehow captures it after knight into d5, it's white is a piece plus and it's completely winning position for white. Thus after e4, it's not too easy to play this position, but Arjun Erigaisi found the best move and he played knight to b6, a very nice move by Arjun Erigaisi. The idea here is black is simply protecting the pawn on d5 and perhaps even preparing to capture the pawn on e4, because then the queen on a2 would be attacked by the bishop on e6. So after knight to b6, Dubov Daniil decided to capture the bishop on e6. Here we have f into e6, e into d5, e into d5. Here we have bishop into d5, check. Here king goes to h8. Here bishop goes back to g2, because knight was perhaps planning to capture the bishop in the future. So that's why bishop is going to g2 back, because now the bishop on g2 is very powerful, because there are many weaknesses on b7 and a8. So now the bishop is very strong on g2, but after bishop g2, here black simply captured the pawn on d4 and black is a pawn up. So here comes rook f to d1 by Dubov Daniil, attacking the queen. And if in this position, if you compare the position, I will say that white is having a very nice activity and the pieces of white is very well coordinated. And if I talk about black pieces, the knight on b6, the rook on e7, the pawn on b7, perhaps the rook on 8, these pieces are very loose, because you can see the bishop on g2 is aiming to the b7 pawn. There could be some pressure on the b6 knight, there could be some pressure on the e7 pawn, e7 rook. But if I talk about white pieces are all protected very nicely, supporting each other and well coordinated. But after rook d1, here Arjun played queen to g4. Here we have knight to e4 by Dubov Daniil, and I personally didn't like this move. The idea here, I didn't like this move because after knight e4, he just came rook into e4, bishop into e4, and after queen into e4, it's just like Dubov Daniil gave two minor pieces for a rook, which I don't think was the right choice, because if you see the bishop on g2 is very well placed, attacking the b7 pawn, and there could be some other choices. Perhaps I don't think he should have played knight e4. Perhaps something like queen b3 was fine, putting more pressure on the knight on b6 as well as the pawn on b7, and it would have been a fine position for white. But he played knight e4. But I think after rook into e4, he perhaps thought that f3 could be possible, attacking both queen as well as the rook. But this is not working, because now there are many ways even black can play rook a4 and even queen e6. And here the queen is attacking the queen on e7, so pawn cannot capture the rook, and if queen will capture the queen, then rook captures the queen back and black is a piece up. That's why Dubov have to capture the rook on e4, and after queen into e4, the computer says it's equal position, because here in the game Dubov Daniil played queen b3, which was not a good move. In this position he should have played rook to d6, which is a very good move. Here basically the rook is attacking the knight on b6, so the best move for black in this position is to let's take queen to b4. Here the idea of playing queen b4 here is the queen is attacking the rook on d6 as well as protecting the knight on b6. So after queen b4, here white plays queen to e6. Here there is double attack on the b6 knight. So here black plays queen to b2, and after queen b2, here the queen is attacking the rook on c1, and after queen b2 comes a very powerful move by white, which is rook to c7. According to Indian, it says equal, but practically speaking it looks very dangerous for black in this position. As we can see, all the pieces of white have came into the black side, and it looks very deadly for black, but it says it's equal position for white. But after queen into e4, Dubov Daniil in the game played queen b3, which was not a right move. Here Dubov Daniil is attacking the knight on b6, but now here comes bishop to d4 by Arjun Erigaisi, protecting the knight on b6 and also putting some pressure on the f2 pawn. So after bishop d4, here comes queen to f7, creating some psychological pressure by putting more pieces into the black king. So perhaps there could be some pressure, there could be some attacks with rook c7, some idea on h7 checkmate. So queen f7 was a nice move by Dubov. Here comes knight d5 by Arjun Erigaisi, bringing more piece in the game and also stopping this rook c7 idea, because now knight is protecting the c7 square. So here comes queen into b7 by Dubov Daniil, grabbing a pawn and also attacking the rook on a8. So here Arjun Erigaisi played rook to f8, a very nice move. Here by playing rook f8, now black have got all his pieces into the game and Arjun is looking at the f2 pawn. So it looks very scary for white now. So after rook f8, here white played rook to d2, protecting the f2 pawn. And in this position, let's see if we will be able to find Arjun's next move. So feel free to pause the video and try to find the move which Arjun Erigaisi played. Okay, so to those who have found the right move, congratulations on finding the best move in this position, which is rook into f2. And this is a fantastic move played by Arjun. And if you also found it, congratulations, because after rook into f2, here white have to capture the rook. He doesn't have any choice. Here comes bishop into f2 check, and after king into f2, here comes queen to e3 check, and after king g2, all of you were thinking now black will capture the rook on c1, but no, black will not capture the rook because now it's an equal position, because after queen into d5 it's an equal position. At the place of capturing the rook, here black will first give a check on d2, and after king h3, here Arjun Erigaisi repeated the position once, and after king h3, in this position Arjun decided to capture the rook on c1. So white have to capture the knight on d5 in the position, or else he would be a piece down. So he captured, and here comes a fantastic move, queen f1 check, and white is having two squares whether he can go to h4 or g4. In the game g4 was played, and even if we played king h4, it's going to be same position because of queen f6 check. Here comes king have to come on the light squares, and the idea of putting the king on the light squares here is, if you will see that if the queen would be traded, black is the pawn up on the queen side and he's going to win the pawn endgame. So the basic idea of black in this position is somehow to trade the queens, because even if black would be having one pawn against two pawns, but he would be having one pawn at the queen side, then it's also winning for black. So the main idea of Arjun is to trade the queens. That's why in this position king having two squares. In the king g4 was played, and now comes a very fantastic move, which is queen to f5 check, forcing a queen trade. Queen traded, king captured the pawn, and it's two pawn versus two pawns, but it's completely winning position for black, because after king to f5, now comes king g7 by black, g4, a5, trying to make a queen. Here comes king e5, a4, king d4, king f6, h4. Here basically king have to go to the pawn, because the queen will get, the pawn will be promoted to queen. So king have to capture the pawn, and he have to go over here, and this is the chance where black will simply come here and captures this pawn. So here comes a3, king c3, king e5, h5, king f4, king b3, king into g4, h6, king g5, king into a3, king into h6. And if in this position, if white would be able to reach at f1, it would be a draw. But let's see, will he able to reach at f1 before black king reaches at g2. So after king into h6, white played king b2, king g5, king c2, king f4, king d2, king f3, king e1, and now comes king g2, and white was unable to come to f1. And now what black is going to do is very simple. He is simply going to push the pawn and make a queen, and white can't stop the queen. So that's why after in this position, after move number 53, Daniil Dubov with the white pieces designed the game, and Arjun Erigaisi with the black pieces won the game. So it was a fantastic game by both the players, but in the end game, Arjun Erigaisi tricked Dubov Daniil and take the game. So it was a fantastic game it was a great game by both the players, but Arjun Erigaisi played very well and he showed his class. So after 10th round, he's in the 7th position currently, and he's playing a fantastic chess, and he's just right behind Magnus Carlsen, and still rounds are still pending in the Gold Money Asian Rapid Prelims 2021. So let's see who will be the champion. So if you like this game, then please like to my video. If you are new to my channel, then please subscribe to my channel. I will come up with these new videos for you because the tournament is still pending. So thank you for watching, and bye bye.